Jema, today we are going to listen to the 10th chapter of Roaring Silence, The Inexplicable Days. When I met him for the first time, I was scared to look at his face. He was jet black in complexion, well built body with long beard, rough looking. But the ever radiant smile on his face was giving a different indication. He was very calm, inviting, and loving. Hindus called him with the name Sridharan, and Christians called Thomas. But nobody knows he was neither a Sridharan nor a Thomas, but he was he, a different species of being. I never inquired where he was born and brought up, and he never told me to. He was in a village since long time, working as a sundry labor in agricultural fields. He possessed nothing other than a pair of clothes, a bundle of beedies, and a matchbox and few packets of ganja. He was on work or on rest, except sleeping. He used to sing songs extempore, not written by others. It came as a flow from within, spontaneously as a gift by the nature. Another peculiarity of his style of making his lyrics was, if he starts with the A, the whole song he sang with each and every word was with only A. Either it was taste in Malayalam or Sanskrit, a synthesis of both. For example, Aksharam, Archana, Alinganam, Anubhuti, Anjavanam, Aha, Arivu, Aram, etc., which was difficult to interpret. He resembles Yogi Vemana, who lived in Andhra Pradesh, who sang such songs. When we hear him first, one may feel the absurdity of it, but if we contemplate on it, entirely a different meaning emerges. He had once told me about the beginning of all this on an evening at the village temple ground where we met daily. He told, once I was traveling from Mangalore to Tirchur by bus. It was almost dark. The monsoon was in its full swing. Those days I was working as a laborer at a coffee plantation there in Mangalore. All of a sudden, a lightning struck in the sky and a big sound of thunderbolt burst. It looked like it descended right upon my head. I totally went out of body consciousness or mind. The lightning passed through me and I felt a lot of heat generated inside my body with a lot of burning sensation in my head, and I was throbbing out of suffocation, uneasiness for a few minutes. Then all of a sudden it started cooling down. Now I felt some kind of newness and freshness. A few lines in the form of song emerged out of me and I started singing loudly. Then onwards I sing songs whichever comes out of my lips unknowingly. I never thought about the meaning. I just sing or murmur whenever the waves of exhilaration sprang from inside. I felt like some echo of some deeper experience which is happening deep inside. I was wondering about this man, who is totally illiterate, not even knows how to write his name. I was trying to write down his songs as I felt the non-conforming meanings of it are worthy of being noted down. Who knows who will benefit out of whom? But he never allowed me to do so, as he felt this as an offering to the Mother Nature and hence not to write or print. I observed he, such a great Bhakta Kavi, each and every song ends with the word Sridhara Shakti, his mark. For example, Saptashata Samavela Sabdamcha Sridhara Shakti. This would be the concluding line of all his songs. As he sings, the word Sridhara felt like his name, and I too started calling him in that name. Daily he worked in the fields of landlords and earned just 30 rupees. Evening, when he reaches the small village tea shop, he purchases lot of vada and distributes them to everybody sitting at the shop, even to dogs, cows, etc. Daily few villagers used to wait for his arrival to take the vada free. From the balance money, he purchased 2 or 3 bundles of beedi and matchboxes and few packets of ganja. Then he will take a cup of tea for himself, and with a couple of vada, he takes it as dinner. After bath at temple pond or nearby small river, he sat with his beedi bundle and ganja, starts his evening routine of filling ganja and beedi, and smoking and singing till late night. I used to sit near him till temple closes at night. Daily I tried to by heart at least one song of his. For this routine of coming late to home, my mother used to scold me as I sat near an antaja and a known ganja addict, and also for eating vada made in the village tea shop, which was not even imaginable to my so called Savarna label Nambudri family. My relation with Sridharan went more and more deep. There was a difference in his face, words, and deeds. Sometimes it was difficult for me to analyze or understand his words. One day it happened that the temple was not open, and even after the sunrise for its morning rituals. Usually at sunrise itself, morning puja used to be over. The temple was managed by endowment, that is the Devasthanam board, and the salary of the priest was not paid for more than 3 or 4 months. The priest closed the main gates and kept the key with him and did not open the temple in the early morning as usual. We, few villagers, went to his house and tried to pacify him, but in vain. The villagers were ready to collect money among themselves and give him as salary. But he was not at all ready to agree. He was adamant that the endowment executive officer must visit the temple and settle the matters. When the talks fail, I have no other go but to sit in front of Mandir in Dharana, declaring fast unto death, or opening the temple and to resume puja. I sat on a towel spread as asan in front of the temple east gate, and to my wonder, Sridharan also sat in Dharana in the west gate. Most of the villagers assembled and started shouting slogans against the endowment and the priest. In the meantime, few elders from the village went to the town to meet the Devaswam department authorities to settle the issue. At around 2 p.m., they could bring the officers, and the priest was also called to temple premises to discuss the issue. After a few heated arguments between priest and endowment authorities and villagers versus priest, finally the problem got settled. During the whole episode of discussion, I was chanting some Devi Stotra without involving in talks, and Sridharan was also singing his song sitting at the western gate. When the issue was settled and priest was ready to assume his duties, the village elders asked me to enter into the temple chanting Devi 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 Amoy. For a minute I was silent and went to the western gate, took hold of Sridharan's hand in hand, and came to the eastern gate. Even before the villagers could predict what is happening, I entered inside the temple premises, holding Sridharan's hand, who was an Antyaja, who was restricted entering into temple those days, shouting, Devi, Devi, Devi Amoy, means, this is the Mother Devi and the mother of all. Now the villagers realized what had happened. A Nambudri boy from a highly respectable Savarna family entered the temple holding hands of an Antyaja from an Avarna family. There was a chaos among villagers for a few minutes, and they were being divided in their opinion on what had just happened. I argued with them few words and tried to prove my point that there is no valid yardstick of authentic nature to decide anybody great or small in front of the Mother of Universe. And it is the time to change the age-old blind traditions, which has become just a prejudiced practice of privileged class. This was the first successful social activity I had managed to have done, and then onwards the temple was thrown open to all class of people. The so-called high-profile village elders started treating me as a rebel born in their village to destroy the traditions, and they even planned to drive me out of the village through their petty, dirty politics. They called me a communist or a born demon or an idiot or whatever they can. But a lion's share of the villagers who wanted to walk along the changing time were with me. The days were near for my departure for Mugambika in search of me. Sridharan felt very happy when I conveyed him of my resolve that I have decided to move on the path of God. Day before I left my home and village to lead a life of an ascetic, in the evening myself and Sridharan sat in front of the temple for a long time. He was singing a song on sannyasis, and the first time he allowed me to write it down. It was full of deep philosophy, telling me the do's and don'ts of sannyasa ashram in a nutshell. Next day, Sridharan took me to the bus stand on a bicycle and bid farewell to me. That paper in which I wrote the farewell song was with me till my stay at Rishikesh after my sannyasa. When I studied the Paramahamsa Upanishad during my stay at Rishikesh, I wondered how that illiterate and an outcast villager could have had a grasp of this so called classified detail of an exalted system without any effort, which was so deep in scripture. Like any other memories of Sridharan too started fading away from my life into oblivion, with I going far and far from my past. Once I discussed this with my spiritual brother, Swami Abhayananda, how an illiterate villager could be able to possess the knowledge of a scholar very well in scriptures. Swamiji told, maybe he might have been reborn from a yoga barashta, sadhak. There is nothing to wonder, as such things happen in spiritual life. There are innumerable instances of such silent saints, because to gain knowledge, scriptures are not the only source. Intuition, inspiration, and grace also could do the trick. One should not involve in their activities, but to be a witness and try to understand them, and if possible, try to grasp any knowledge they deliver by chance. For that, we must be vigilant because it could happen at any circumstance. It is the end of chapter 10. In many a case, our thoughts are influenced by our subconscious bias. We think a monk or a sadhu should be in orange robes wandering around the temple, but in reality, a true enlightened could be in any form and anywhere. They could be identified by their wisdom, simplicity, humbleness, or non-conformity to the general worldly behaviors. They are to be sensed by intuition and not by our eyes and limited knowledge. Just the way Guruji as a boy was attracted towards Sridharan through intuition. Another such subconscious bias instilled in us by the society is segregation of people based on which family or community they are born in. We all have hero complex as we think I am better than others, my language is the best, my race or caste is the best, etc. But when we take a moment to understand with only humanity in heart and no superiority or inferiority complex, that the segregation is meaningless and that we are all equally born to fulfill a purpose, whatever small that may be. One mantra to remember is that we are all equal and the same self. If you found this video helpful, please do share with your family and friends. Chapter 11 will be released next Sunday. Jai Ma.